So excited to get started with you. Before I start showing you SizeUp, I want to talk a little bit about the context of SizeUp. The information that you're going to see right now is the same type of information that your national and international companies use. The difference is that they will pay either their in-house analysts or perhaps even your large consulting firms hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this information. The investment made by the chamber is providing this information and putting it into your hands to optimize your decision making. The second thing is that they're putting this information in your hands at a time that you need. A lot of owner operators are so busy Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or even 7 to 7, that when they tend to do their analysis, it tends to be on evenings and weekends. SizeUp is available for you 24/7. And last and most importantly, you may be a little bit concerned that a tool of this nature may be hard to use. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to know anything other than your business. You don't need an MBA or a degree in statistical analytics to understand how to use SizeUp. And we'll show that to you right now. So all you have to do is select the SizeUp button on the Jackson Chamber's website. And you have to know two things: what you do, or in the case of an entrepreneur, what you want to do, and where you do it. So in this case, we'll take a look at coffee shops in Jackson, Tennessee. And you'll see that it'll pop up some information immediately. And these are answers that you should have off the top of your head, whether you're an existing business or if you're planning on starting a business. Now, as I mentioned, this should be a very interactive session. So I'm going to go ahead and launch two polls right now for you, and I'd like you to answer them before I actually enter the values into the system. And we're going to go ahead and use your values to show the way that someone who's starting a business may think about these. So on your panel right now, you should see a poll pop up. It's going to ask what you think the average revenue is for a coffee shop in Jackson, Tennessee, and how many staff members the average coffee shop in Jackson is employing. So if you can get a vote on that, I'll go ahead and then end the poll, and then we'll show the results out to you. Get quite a few good responses. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, oh, we're getting some more in. Some people are changing their minds. We're going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'm going to share the results with you so you can actually see what we put in there. So we're looking at an average of $300,000 and 4 to 6 employees. So we're going to go ahead and put in that information right into SizeUp. And we're going to see that in just a few seconds, SizeUp is going to super crunch millions of data points to provide that information to you. So this is why this information can be so valuable to the entrepreneur or the existing business. If you're Joe's coffee shop, it's really hard for you to go to Joanne's coffee shop and ask them how much they're making. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing back of the napkin analysis, trying to figure out how many cups of coffee you're going to sell at what price per day, you might think that $300,000, like most of us did, I participated in the poll too, would be a good revenue for a coffee shop. But the average coffee shop in the city of Jackson makes almost double that. $586,000. So right from the start, SizeUp's going to show you information about the industry that you're either in or the industry that you're thinking about entering as an entrepreneur, and help you understand what it would take to be competitive in that business. One of the other things that you want to see are the trends related to the business that you're in. Are you in movie and DVD rentals, where you're going to see a spike going all the way down from the left all the way to the right because all of those businesses are shutting? Or are you going to see something more similar to this, where there's ups and downs in a regular cycle? Now, what we're looking at right now are coffee shop starts within the US. We may not be interested in that. We may want to look at it at a state level, or even at a more regional city or county level, showing you how many coffee shops have started. The other thing that you'd have to think about as a business is, what is the salary of your average employee? I think we can agree that $20,000 may not seem like a tremendous amount of money, but that's actually more than competitive for what you would see in the area. Your average coffee shop worker is going to make around $15,000. And then we get to the next question. We said that we thought there were going to be around 4 to 6 employees. Let's go ahead and go with the top end, and we'll go with 6. And we can actually see that the average coffee shop in the area not only has doubled the revenue, but also doubled the amount of employees. And that's an important point. We're not telling you what's good or bad. We're telling you objectively through the lens of data what the average coffee shop is doing in your area. And it can be anywhere within the greater Jackson region. Why does this matter? Because if you're going to the bank, if you're going to a group of investors. You can contextualize the performance of your business. Yes, I am a smaller coffee shop and I'm only half the income, but we're ready to expand. And you can see that that's supported objectively by the data that's there. So at this point, we've been asking you questions and then providing you feedback on those. And now SizeUp is going to use its business intelligence to start triangulating some of the information that you're looking at. So while you may have half the employees and pay them a little bit more, you can actually see you have fairly average cost effectiveness. And that may be great. That might be part of your business plan, that you want to run smaller stores in more areas, or you're starting small and looking to expand. And so this is going to show you your cost effectiveness. And not only is it going to show you the cost effectiveness, and we'll look at this a little bit later, you're going to see a heat map that shows you the concentration of where businesses are succeeding more, or the different demographic characteristics or consumer expenditure characteristics of your potential consumer. So we can look at other items like revenue per capita or local turnover. So one of the challenges with most small businesses is retaining great talent. So let's say that you do have 6 employees and you're losing 1 per year, or if you were the average shop and you're looking at about 12 employees and you're losing 3 per year, you might find that very frustrating. You have to go out and attract new talent and then train them in your business. The reality is you're doing about average. And if you're losing, say, less than 3 people per year, that's a testament to how you're running your business and perhaps the salary that you're offering to help keep those talented employees at your business. We can also look at information like healthcare costs and workers' comp. I won't spend too much time with this. These are fairly straightforward. But one of the more important tools that SizeUp offers you is a dashboard where if you click on this summary view, you can actually see your business performance across multiple key performance indicators or KPIs, and then you can start doing some scenario editing. What happens if my revenue were to go up? Let's say that we hit 500,000. And then along with that, I do want to increase my employees a little bit to sustain that type of growth. And you can see what type of impact that's going to have both on salary and on your cost effectiveness, where you go from 17% to 3%. So you're showing better cost effectiveness now. So that is the first feature in SizeUp. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the second one, and I'll continue to look for chat and QA as we move on. So our first tool was the My Business or benchmarking tool. It tells you a lot about how your business is performing versus other businesses in your industry. The competition tool starts to help contextualize where that competition is taking place and also where your customers and suppliers are. So here we're looking at all of the coffee shops in Jackson, and we can go ahead and page through multiple pages to see other ones and other locations. And you can either click here and see the information for a specific business, or you can also click on the map to see more information about these type of businesses. Now, as you know, you may get coffee from more than one place. I used to get my coffee from a diner. So we can add other industries that may be adjacent to your core industry where people may also get some of their product or buy their services from. And you can add or subtract as many as you want. The other thing that you may need to consider is where are your customers located? In the time of the pandemic, you see a lot of businesses that still have to be in the office because they're handling very secure information. So in the case of, say, bookkeepers or accountants, they have financial information that they can't take home with them. So we can actually go to the customers tab, list industries that we think are potential customers for our business. Obviously, this is a business to business transaction as opposed to a business to consumer transaction, but it doesn't matter what industry you're in, SizeUp will support you. So now we're looking at lists of all of those bookkeepers that maybe don't want people gathering around the coffee machine to get their coffee. So maybe you can supply, urns of coffee to these businesses so that they can have their coffee and do their work, but in a more safe environment. And you get a list of all these businesses. And why does this matter? Because it shows you where they are, and you can then click on the business to get more information. And instead of just being a cold call, you're actually looking at a warm call where you know more about that business and you know where they're located and the type of industries that they're in. The other thing that you may want to look at are where's the source of your supplies? At a time where you can't just go on the internet and get those cups or napkins shipped from China or India or Vietnam, you may want a local source. So let's go ahead and look at restaurant equipment and supply wholesales. And so now you can actually see all of the places more that are more local, where you're also supporting your other local businesses, where you can get the information that you need to supply what your business needs to succeed. So we can take a look at the heat map, and I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of what you would be doing as a coffee shop, but you can see that there's hundreds of categories here. So if we were looking at coffee specifically, we'd be looking at the food and beverage category and food away from home. And then we'd be looking at snacks and non-alcoholic beverages. Now, what I wanted to point out to you right now is we're seeing this at the county level, but SizeUp is customized to what you think your trade area is. So maybe people aren't going to drive through multiple counties to get a cup of coffee. But if we zoom in a little bit, we can actually see that information at the zip code level. And then when we get to the next tool, we're actually going to show you how detailed SizeUp can be. So let me just pause there and check to see if there's any chat or Q&A. All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the advertising tool. So this is the third very powerful tool that is supplied by SizeUp. Now, advertising is a little bit of a misnomer because this is really a trade area or market analysis tool. So right now, if I was running a coffee shop in the Jackson, Tennessee area, I'm looking at zip codes based on total revenue. I think that's a great way. Show me where the money is, that people may want to analyze their business. But in some cases, especially where you're looking to expand, or perhaps you're an entrepreneur, you may want to look at this information a little bit differently. So instead of looking at total revenue, why don't we look at underserved markets? So these are areas where business revenue is low, but consumer expenditures are high. And so now we're looking at a list of zip codes, starting with Stanton, Tennessee, and you can sort this. You can sort it by revenue per capita, or you can sort it by zip code, however you want to do your analysis. And it's completely customizable. Let's say that you are a coffee shop and you're looking to supply families. You have specific snacks or drinks that you think are really great. So we could customize this for a median age. And instead of looking at all of those zip codes, we can look at zip codes with a higher percentage of median age of 25 to 45, and you'll see that that information is automatically customized and those zip codes are updated on what you're looking for. Now, we can also look at an example that's a little bit different. We've been focusing on either business to business or business to consumer examples. What happens if, let's say, you are a dentist, and more specifically, you're a cosmetic dentist? So you're not just helping people have healthy teeth, but beautiful looking smiles. You may also want to identify areas that you would want to locate or to advertise, because people are going to travel for this type of service. So you can take this information and put it into Google AdWords or your Facebook ads. You can look at billboards, community newspapers, or other sources to distribute the information about your business optimally within these zip codes according to the demographic characteristics that matter to you, your business plan, and your success. So that is the third tool of SizeUp, the advertising tool. And let me go ahead and pause for a second, check the chat and Q&A again to see if there's anything relevant to this. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next tool. So we talked about this a little bit earlier with the heat maps that we showed on the competition tool. This is the demographic tool, and this allows you to get even more in depth than any other tool that SizeUp has to do the type of analysis that is really specific to you. So at this point, we could show you a demographic overview. This is a demographic overview of Jackson, Tennessee. We could also look at the county, or we could look at the metro area. But instead, let's look at it from a site-specific perspective. We could just pop in any address here. It really doesn't matter. And we could look at, say, a 20-mile radius around this spot. And now we're looking at demographic analysis, gender, age distribution, race distribution, total household income distribution, labor force status around this specific address as opposed to generic information. Now, maybe you don't fly like a bird, and maybe you drive most places. So we could go ahead and look at a 15-minute drive time, but instead of a demographic overview, let's go ahead and look at consumer expenditures. And so now what we're going to generate is a site-specific drive time analysis, this area bordered in green, and the type of expenditures that are happening in that area. So we're looking at, again, coffee shop. So you could go ahead and scroll down to whatever category that you want and then dive in very deeply. We could also look again at labor force. So I'm going to show you something slightly different. Instead of just generic analysis for a place or drive time or radius analysis, I want to show you what it looks like within a boundary. So this is a very powerful tool because let's say that you're just interested in employing people who are willing to commute around a specific geography around certain freeways. You can draw a shape and then look at the labor force for the people within this specific shape. So let's say that you were working in, I'm looking for construction. As you can see, there's tons of categories here. And there we go, construction and extraction. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and I'm going to show you the level of detail that SizeUp can provide. So right now we're looking at this at the zip code level. So you can see the overlay in this shape. You can see that there's 2,182 people, which is 3.8% of the workforce. But maybe I want to narrow it down even further. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And we're not just going to look at this information at the zip code level, but we're actually going to look at it by neighborhood to help you optimize your information. So this is the demographic tool. And at this time, I'll go ahead and stop my sharing. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the Q&A session. So thank you all so much for what I hope was a very quick overview of SizeUp to allow you to jump into the tool and see how you want to use it. And now all five of us will take your Q&A and hopefully answer your questions that you have about SizeUp.
You did too well, Mario. You covered it all throughout the demonstration.
I can't believe that my wife's going to think I'm going to get an even bigger head if I don't have any questions. So why don't we give people a chance to find that chat or Q&A box, and then we can talk a little bit more about some of the things that I'm anticipating those questions to be asked. So one, as Hannah kindly mentioned, SizeUp is kept up to date. So this isn't just a tool for right now. This is a tool for as you move forward with your business. The information is updated. Well, we have hundreds of different data sources, but most of the information is updated on a quarterly basis. So you can always come back every 3 months to see how your business has changed in terms of ranking or in terms of new business starts. So this is not a right now tool. This is an ongoing tool. And I did want to go ahead and point that out. One of the other things that, and I'll go ahead and share my screen with you right now, that Hannah mentioned is that we do not collect, sell, share your data. Your data is your data. You'll notice there is a sign-in button right there. The only thing that does, and it's completely optional, is it will help save your values. So let's say that you're in your back office at your storefront and you're doing some analysis and then you want to get home and you don't want to have to re-enter that information all over again. That's what the sign-in button will do for you. So feel free to use that sign-in button if you want to go ahead and store any of that information for you. And one of the other questions we get is, what if I'm in a certain industry and I can't find it? We actually have thousands of industries in our application. And all you have to do is just start typing things in. So for instance, in coffee, you may think, well, I'm a coffee shop, but it's also going to cover coffee, tea stores, and even roasting coffee. So you can see all of that information there. And there's smart search. So if you're searching for automobiles, you also find cars and other adjacent industries relevant to your search. So all you have to do is pop that in and it will show you that information. One of the other things I wanted to point out, and again, we're looking at coffee shops, but we could look at almost any industry, is this is not just an investment during pandemic times. What we will see, and you're going to notice is here, is this was the last Great Recession. It's 2008. And you notice what happens right after 2008. We are seeing, and we are both predicting, an explosion of entrepreneurial activity after the pandemic is over. So this is an investment in helping you analyze what's happening now and providing you the information that you need to succeed in the future. I have a question from Ben Harris. In your coffee shop example, could I have some shops excluded? Say I want to see data for coffee shops excluding Starbucks. So yes, Ben, so within this category, and I'll go ahead and click over to the competitor side and clear the map to show you, you have the ability to customize this. So let's go ahead and get rid of diners and we'll go back to businesses. So you can actually choose which businesses you're interested in, and then you can go ahead and dive into those. It's going to show all businesses in the category, but you can page through as many as there are based on the analysis that you're looking for in terms of your trade area. And you can look at grind, or you can look at your local Starbucks. It's completely customizable based on you going through the list and then selecting the businesses that you want to understand a little bit more. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and worth mentioning there, it is built in within our algorithms, Ben, that the revenue numbers, for instance, aren't just totally driven out the roof by the larger big box chains. So when you're searching for, really any category, those aren't going to drive those way to the sky, which you may have been asking for that reason as well. Our algorithms already built in for those giant guys who might make a ton of revenue.
Sure. So we have a question from Dan Drogosh, who is asking, have we seen many people use this to figure out what kind of business to start, market opportunities? So yes, we have. Obviously there's anecdotal evidence, and I'm happy to share that with you. And we also see evidence where people are choosing, and you'll see here that we have what's called considerations. These are not recommendations, they're considerations, because each business is unique. But when people select whether they're a startup or an established business, we do see, in fact, that people are using this as a startup tool. I'll use an example. I was working with a community that had a cleaning service that primarily went out of business during COVID because they didn't have office buildings to clean since no one was in the offices. The existing employees of that business who had that unique skill set in industrial custodial services, they were using the tool to analyze what type of other adjacent services they could. And they have now started home-based cleaning services, but implementing them in an industrial fashion to make sure that the people whose homes they're visiting and themselves are kept safe. So that's an example of where you have someone with a certain skill set who's looking for other industries to enter into. And that was also from a more rural community. And you'll see this happen, differently throughout regions, depending on whether it's urban or rural, in terms of the type of analysis people are doing. So yes, it's absolutely a useful entrepreneurial tool to do benchmarking on different things. Like, do you want to be an Italian restaurant? Right, where the average revenue in the Jackson County area is, one second, about $900,000, or perhaps if you know how to cook both pasta and burgers, you may want to consider a burger restaurant. So it can help you understand the different. So apparently in Jackson, the money is clearly in burgers. So if you both know how to cook meatballs and meat patties, I would probably suggest the former. But again, you have to look at that in the context of how many more employees may you have to have in a burger restaurant versus versus an Italian restaurant. So you can absolutely use this to go in and source information to help you understand. Is the aggregate available data for download so that I could play with the data in my own spreadsheet? So this is a standard website, so you certainly could take this information, copy this and paste it in. And then on the demographics tool itself, you can actually do a PDF export of the information. You'll see that button right here. It'll open up the report. And I think hopefully you're seeing that in my screen. I don't know if Zoom's always sharing it, but yes, you absolutely can take any of the information, cut and paste it into your spreadsheet, do your analysis in Excel, or create a PDF report and then cut and paste that into a Word document as you start your business plan, or anything else that you're doing, loan applications and things of that nature. Great question. Thank you for that. So I don't see any other chat or Q&A popping up at this time. So I certainly hope that we were able to answer your questions. If we weren't, of course, our contact information is available, and you're welcome to reach out to us at any time. And with that in mind, let me turn this back over to Hannah for some closing remarks.
Well, thank you, Mario and Mark. We really appreciate you guys showing us how to use this and presenting this webinar. We're very excited as the Chamber to have this on our website and really hope that it'll be a beneficial tool for a lot of our small businesses and entrepreneurs to make data-driven decisions when they're looking at their businesses and trying to decide how to move forward or what that looks like. So really appreciate that and are very glad to have you guys a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone stay safe and have a wonderful day. Take care.